The Galactic Council hall shimmered with golden light, high above the clouds of the capital world. Countless alien delegates gathered beneath a dome of crystal and metal, their voices echoing in a dozen languages. It was supposed to be a normal session. Another day of speeches, trade talks, and petty disputes among the stars. But that morning something was different. The great chamber felt colder, quieter, as if the air itself was holding its breath. At the center of the hall, the council speaker, a tall insectoid being named Varkol, adjusted his translator chip and looked over the gathered leaders. "We have received strange readings from the Outer Rim," he announced. "A fleet has appeared where no civilization is registered," the crowd murmured, curious but unconcerned. Fleets appeared all the time, pirates, scavengers, or maybe one of the lesser species trying to make noise. Nothing serious, but then the young officer Lyren, from the Avaran race, stepped forward. Her pale blue skin glowed faintly under the chamber lights. "Sir," she said softly, "these readings, they are not like anything we've seen before." Varkol's antennae twitched. "Explain." "Officer." Lyren tapped her wrist console and projected the data into the air. Holographic lines formed the outline of ships, dozens, hundreds of them, each one radiating power beyond standard measurement. "These ships use an energy source we can't identify," she said, "and their formation is human." The hall fell silent. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The word human echoed like a ghost in the air. Varkol finally laughed, the deep mechanical tone vibrating through the walls. "Humans. Impossible," he said. "They were destroyed 3 centuries ago." "Maybe so," Lyren whispered. "But the data doesn't lie." Another delegate, a scaled creature from the Drath Dominion, hissed in amusement. "Even if they did survive, what could a handful of humans do against the Council now?" The chamber erupted in laughter. The memory of the human wars was ancient history to most. A tale of defiance and punishment, humanity had refused to submit to the Galactic Council's control, and in return the Council burned their worlds. But as the laughter filled the chamber, the lights flickered once, twice, then dimmed. Every console went dark. The great hall was bathed in a soft red glow from the emergency lights. Varkol's voice broke through the noise. "What's happening?" Lyren checked her display. It showed nothing, not even local power signals. "Sir, every satellite, every beacon." "It's offline," the technicians shouted across the room. "Communications are gone. We've lost connection to the defense grid." And then a sound came through the emergency speakers. A faint crackle of static followed by a voice, calm, cold, and unmistakably human. "We remember," it said. Every being in the hall froze. The voice was old, filled with quiet fury and sorrow, the kind of voice that carried across generations. Varkol's breathing grew fast. "Trace that signal! Find where it came from!" Lyren's hands trembled as she worked. "It's coming from everywhere," she whispered. Every system in range just transmitted the same message at once. In the control room orbiting above the planet, alarms blared. Sensor officers stared at their screens in disbelief. Hundreds of unknown contacts had appeared on the outer edges of the system. "Moving fast, perfectly synchronized, unknown fleet approaching," the officer reported. Power readings off the charts. Back in the council hall, Varkol shouted, "Raise the planetary shield!" No response came. Lyren looked up, her voice small. "Sir, the shield system is unresponsive." The chamber filled with shouts. Fear spread like fire. The once proud council members panicked, their translators buzzing with overlapping voices. Through the massive windows, the stars above the capital world began to shimmer, one by one. Lights appeared in the sky, white dots growing brighter, closer, like falling suns. Lyren stared at them, her heart pounding. "They're here," she said. A great vibration shook the city as a sound like thunder rolled through the sky. Not an explosion, but the arrival of something vast, something that bent the fabric of space itself. Above the planet, hundreds of ships emerged from hyperspace. Sleek, dark, and silent, unlike any alien design, their hulls reflected no light, they simply absorbed it, as if the night itself had come alive. On the lead ship's command bridge, Admiral Rhea Sol stood before a vast viewing screen, her eyes calm and steady, the Earth insignia shining on her black uniform. She spoke a single command, broadcast the message, across every frequency, across every world that had once cheered for humanity's destruction. The same voice echoed again. "We remember what was taken from us," the voice said, "and we have returned." The stars themselves seemed to tremble, and deep in the heart of the Galactic Council, Varkol finally understood. The age of alien supremacy was over, and the age of humanity had begun again. The hall went silent. No one dared to speak. The only sound left was the faint hum of human ships entering orbit. Lyran watched the sky through the window, the glow of the human fleet reflected in her eyes. She whispered softly to herself, "What have we done?" And far above, in the endless black of space, humanity's fleet waited. Patient, silent, unstoppable, the storm had come, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had gone silent. Every system near the outer rim had stopped sending signals. Ships vanished mid-transmission, colonies cut off from trade routes, and still the Council refused to believe what their own eyes saw. In the Grand Chamber, the air was heavy with fear. Reports flickered in and out, distorted by strange static, the kind that only appeared when something immense was moving through hyperspace. Lyran stood at her console, her hands shaking, the data flowing faster than she could read. "These are human signals," she whispered. Encoded in old Terran patterns, Varkol's mandibles clicked in disbelief. Those codes are ancient, they can't still exist. But deep in her heart, Lyran knew this was no trick, no random signal. This was the sound of something that had been waiting, watching and remembering somewhere across the galaxy. On the ruined world once called Earth, dust-covered broken cities, but beneath the ashes, a heartbeat had remained generations ago. When the Council's fleets burned Earth's skies, a small group of humans escaped into the void, their ships damaged but unbroken. They carried with them rage, knowledge, and a promise. They called themselves the Soul Continuum, a name whispered only among the survivors. They hid in dark nebulae, built silent colonies inside dead moons, and turned every memory of pain into technology no alien could understand. Their scientists fused artificial intelligence with living human minds, creating sentient ships that thought, remembered, and felt anger. The humans did not just rebuild, they evolved. While the rest of the galaxy believed humanity was gone, the Soul Continuum watched from the shadows, mapping every empire that once mocked them, recording every cruel law, every insult, every species that had cheered when humanity burned. Now they were coming home. Lyran watched the fleet readings grow stronger. "They're advancing in a straight line," she said. "Directly toward the Council's core worlds." Varkol tried to steady his voice. "Mobilize the defense fleets," but even as he spoke, holograms of entire fleets blinked red, destroyed before they could fire a shot. The Council's admirals shouted over each other. "They bypassed our sensors. They disrupted our energy grid. We can't track them." Each statement made the room colder. On the bridge of the human flagship Erebus, Admiral Rhea Sol stood before the stars, the glow of nebulae painting her face in blue light. She remembered the day Earth fell, the screams, the flames, the silence afterward. She remembered her ancestors' oath. "Never again," her first officer, Captain Marek, approached. "All fleets in formation, Admiral," he said. "The outer rim is secure, and the Council fleets have been neutralized." Rhea nodded. "Transmit the next message." A low hum filled space as every ship projected a holographic broadcast toward the galactic core. The humans didn't hide. They wanted to be seen. Across thousands of worlds, screens flickered to life. Alien citizens stopped in shock as a woman's face appeared, calm, human, determined. "This is Admiral Rhea Sol of the Human Continuum," she said, her voice clear, echoing across time. "For centuries we were hunted, enslaved, and erased. You burned our worlds and called it peace. You silenced our children and called it order. But humanity remembers." The broadcast cut to images, archival footage of the human wars. Cities burning, ships falling, but then the footage changed, showing new ships. Human ships, vast and dark, each carrying the symbol of Sol. "We do not come for revenge," Rhea continued. "We come for justice." The Galactic Council's worlds fell into panic. Fleets scrambled, but nothing could stop what was coming. On the Council's home planet, Alarms wailed through the city skies. Soldiers ran through glowing streets. Ships lifted off in chaos. Trying to flee before the human fleet arrived, Lyren stood on a balcony, watching the sky ignite with streaks of light. Each one a ship trying to escape, she whispered to herself. Maybe they were right to fear them, and then the horizon changed color. A deep red wave pulsed across the sky, the sign of a human FTL breach. The air itself trembled, windows shattered from the vibration, and a shadow fell over the entire capital. The first of the human ships broke through the clouds, silent and black, its hull engraved with ancient human words. Soul remembers. Lyren could feel her heartbeat pounding like drums. It's not a fleet, she realized. It's an army of memories. In orbit, Rhea watched the Council's defense grid rise online again. Thousands of alien cannons turned toward her fleet. She smiled faintly. Let them try. The Council fired everything they had. Beams of light crossed space. Explosions painted the void in color. But the human ships didn't move. Their shields absorbed the attacks like rain on steel. Then, with a single hand gesture, Rhea gave the order. The human fleet answered as one. Thousands of lances of white light erupted from their hulls. But they didn't destroy. They disarmed, slicing apart weapons, engines, and power cores with surgical precision, leaving ships adrift helpless but alive. It was not war, it was dominance. From the Council Hall, Varkol watched in horror as his world's defense fleet was neutralized in less than 30 seconds. Impossible, he gasped. No species can wield that kind of power, Lyren whispered. Humans can, in the quiet that followed. The human fleet held their position above the planet, unmoving, like silent gods, waiting, watching. Then came the message again. But this time it wasn't only a voice, it was an invitation. A single line appeared on every communication screen in the galaxy, simple and terrifying. We are ready to talk. And for the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council felt something they had forgotten, fear. The galaxy held its breath. Billions of eyes turned toward the void where the human fleet had appeared. Worlds that once mocked the name Earth now whispered it in terror. The Council had fallen silent, its arrogance crushed beneath the weight of what hung above their skies. The human ships did not move. They simply waited, orbiting in perfect silence. Black silhouettes against the burning sun. No transmissions, no demands, only the same 3 words repeating through the network. We are ready to talk. Inside the Council Hall, the leaders argued in panic, every alien voice rising like thunder. They want surrender, shouted one. It's a trap, cried another. No, said Lyren softly. They don't want war. Varkol slammed his metal claws on the table. They destroyed half our fleets. What else could they want? Lyren looked up at the sky through the dome's glass ceiling, her voice calm but trembling. They could have destroyed us all. But they didn't. Across the hall, the hologram of Admiral Rhea Sol flickered to life. Her image projected before the entire council. She stood tall in her dark uniform, her eyes sharp as the void behind her. You remember our fall, she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. But you have forgotten what made humanity rise. Every translator chip in the hall buzzed as her words were carried in 100 languages. The silence that followed was unbearable. Varkol straightened himself, trying to sound strong. What do you want, human? Rhea's hologram smiled faintly, a smile that carried neither joy nor malice. Balance, she said. Justice. Before the council could respond, the hologram expanded, showing the entire galaxy in 3D space. Small red dots lit up across thousands of sectors, each one a secret laboratory, a prison, or a planet where humans had been experimented on, enslaved or forgotten. These are the places where humanity suffered, Rhea said, her tone cold. You built your empire on our ashes, Lyren's breath caught. The scale of it was beyond imagination, she whispered. By the stars. How long have they been watching us? Rhea continued. For every world you burned, we built 2. For every ship you destroyed, we forged 10. We watched, we learned, and now we have returned to remind you of what you chose to forget. Outside the capital world, The human ships began to move, but not in attack formation. Instead, they aligned in geometric patterns, circles within circles, glowing lines of light forming across their hulls. Alien scientists in the Council's research center gasped. They're forming a Dyson array. No? Something else? Something beyond our physics? A pulse of energy rippled through space, harmless but powerful enough to make every electronic device across the planet flicker, then stabilize. The humans had just taken control of the entire communication network without breaking a single law of physics. Every screen, every broadcast, every beacon across the galaxy now carried the same image. The emblem of Sol, Earth's sun, burning bright again on a distant mining world. A small alien child looked up at the screen and asked his father, "What's a human?" The father had no answer, only silence. Back aboard the Erebus, Admiral Rhea stood with her hands behind her back. Her gaze locked on the holographic image of the Council's world. "We will not destroy them," she said quietly. "We will make them remember," her AI companion. Athena materialized beside her, glowing in blue light. "Shall I begin the next sequence?" "Yes," Rhea replied. "Activate the return protocol. In an instant..." Light spread across the fleet, and thousands of capsules detached from the ships, each one glowing white as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Like falling stars, on the surface, aliens ran into the streets, staring at the sky as the capsules fell like a rain of fire. But instead of destruction, they opened midair, projecting holograms of Earth, its oceans, forests, and cities before the war. The skies above alien capitals were filled with images of human life, laughter, music, and then the flames, the screams, the silence. Every being who saw it understood. This was not a threat. It was a memory. A wound reopened for all to witness. In the council hall, Varkol fell silent, his voice broken. "We destroyed beauty," he whispered. Lyren watched the images through tears. "And yet they came back," she said, "not as monsters, but as something greater. Above them, the human fleet remained motionless. But one ship began to descend, the Erebus. Its size dwarfed the alien city miles long, its hull made of living alloy that shifted like liquid metal, lights moving across its surface like veins of fire. When it came to rest in the upper atmosphere, a single voice transmitted across every channel again. "Calm and steady. This is not conquest," Rhea said. "This is remembrance." And then the skies cleared, revealing something the galaxy had not seen in centuries. The Earth emblem projected above the planet, bright and radiant, the symbol of the species that refused to die. In that moment, even the Council's most powerful members bowed their heads. Not out of fear, but out of awe, Lyren closed her eyes and whispered, "The humans are not our enemies. They are our mirror." And high above, Admiral Rhea Sol looked down upon the capital world, her voice soft but resolute. "The galaxy will not forget us again," she said. "This is the dawn of Sol." The fleet shimmered. The stars dimmed, and for the first time in millennia, the universe itself seemed to kneel before humanity's return. The skies over the Council world still glowed with the burning emblem of Sol. And though the human fleet no longer fired a single shot, their silent presence felt heavier than any weapon. It was the weight of judgment. Days passed, and still, the humans said nothing more. No demands, no ultimatums. Only their endless vigil above the capital. Watching, waiting, inside the council hall, fear turned to unrest. Entire worlds called for surrender. Others begged for answers. The delegates argued through the night, until one voice broke the chaos, Lyren's. "There is something the humans want us to see," she said, her voice calm yet firm. "Something more than revenge," Varkol hissed in frustration. "And what could they possibly show us that we do not already know?" Lyren activated the holographic archive. This transmission was hidden in the energy pulse they sent us, encrypted in an old Terran pattern. The image flickered to life. An old human symbol appeared first. The flag of Earth, faded and torn, then a face emerged. Weathered, scarred but alive, a man in tattered military uniform. "My name is Captain Elias Ward," the recording began. His voice gravelly, tired. "If you are watching this, then humanity has returned. Gasps filled the hall. Varkol's mandibles clicked nervously. Impossible, this man! He's human! Lyran nodded. He was found in one of our own stasis prisons beneath the outer rim. The humans must have known, the recording continued. 300 years ago, the Council captured me and my crew after the fall of Earth. We were experiments, trophies, ghosts kept alive to prove your victory. But you forgot something. Humans adapt. Elias's voice darkened. While you studied us, we studied you. Every weakness, every secret, every lie hidden beneath your perfect order. The room fell silent. Even Varkol dared not speak. The image of the human seemed to stare through them all. Then came the final words. You thought you erased us. But extinction is a word that does not belong to humanity. We learned from our pain, and one day our descendants would come. Not for revenge, but to remind you of what you truly are. The hologram ended. But in its place, another feed appeared automatically. Not from the Council system, but from the human fleet itself. Admiral Rhea Sol appeared once more, her image clear and commanding. You held our ancestors in cages, drained their lives for data, buried them under your world. We have come to retrieve them. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Buried here? Under this planet? Lyran looked pale, her voice trembling. She's telling the truth. There were classified vaults, ancient ones, built after the human wars, Varkol shouted. Those facilities are sealed. They were forgotten for centuries. But before anyone could move, the ground began to shake. Alarms blared through the city. Far beneath the capital, deep in the shadowed vaults of the old war labs, something stirred. Inside a sealed chamber of glass and metal, a faint light flickered one by one. Ancient pods came to life, blue lights glowing from within, human bodies encased in stasis fluid slowly opening their eyes. For centuries they had slept, soldiers, scientists, children, the last survivors of the First War forgotten beneath alien soil. Their vitals rose, their breathing steadied, and as the systems rebooted, their genetic tags connected with the signal from the human fleet above. Lyran watched the data spike on her screen. They're waking up, she whispered. A voice crackled over the Council's intercom, not from the fleet, not from the hall, but from below the planet itself. It was the same voice from the recording, older now, filled with quiet rage. This world is built on graves, said Captain Ward. And the dead remember. Suddenly, energy readings spiked across the capital. Human nanotech, long dormant, began to move. Silver threads of light crawling through the city's walls. Streets and towers, the alien scientists screamed. It's spreading through the infrastructure. We can't stop it. Lyran stood frozen as the very floor beneath her shimmered with glowing veins of light. They were buried with their technology, she realized. And it's still alive. On the human flagship Erebus, Admiral Rhea watched the readings with calm focus. Begin Phase 2, she said quietly. Her AI, Athena, nodded. Reawakening sequence complete. Captain Ward's consciousness has been synchronized with planetary systems. In the depths of the planet, the resurrected human captain opened his eyes fully for the first time in centuries, his body half flesh, half machine, the nanotech binding him to the world itself. He looked upward, through layers of rock and metal, and smiled. We were your prisoners, he said. Now your world is ours. Above the planet, the human fleet's lights dimmed, forming a perfect alignment. Energy waves pulsed in rhythm with the planet's heartbeat. Every alien ship orbiting nearby began losing power, their weapons shutting down, their engines going cold. The humans hadn't fired a single shot, yet the entire defense network was paralyzed. Inside the council hall, Varkol collapsed to his knees. What are they doing? He whispered. Lyran stared at the readings, awe replacing her fear. They're not destroying us, she said. They're rewriting the system. Through the storm of energy, Rhea's voice echoed one final time. Calm and clear. We are not your past, she said. We are your future. And then the lights of the entire city turned white. A blinding brilliance that lasted only a heartbeat. When the glow faded, the chaos was gone. The ships floated quietly, the people stood unharmed. Yet something fundamental had changed. The human technology had merged with the alien systems. turning them into something new, something unified. Lyran looked to the sky and whispered, "They didn't come to destroy us. They came to awaken us." And far below, Captain Ward's voice echoed softly through the metal veins of the world. "The dead have spoken," he said, "and humanity lives on." The night side of the Council world was no longer dark. It glowed with lines of silver light running through every mountain. Ocean and city, the planet itself pulsed like a living heart, a heart now beating in time with the human fleet above. Across the stars, alien worlds listened in silence, waiting for the next move. The great powers of the galaxy, once proud and unchallenged, now hid behind their shields, terrified that humanity's wrath might fall upon them next. On the flagship Erebus, Admiral Rhea Sol stood at the central command deck, her gaze fixed on the swirling holographic map of the Council systems. "The networks are aligned," said Athena, her AI voice calm and precise. "Every world linked. Every transmission open?" "Good," Rhea replied, her tone steady as steel. "Then it's time they see the truth." She turned toward the viewing screen. The vast galaxy stretched before her, beautiful and fragile. "Initiate Project Radiance!" Energy surged through the fleet. Thousands of ships lighting up one by one, beams of white fire extending outward in a perfect spiral. The pattern reached across light years, forming a ring of light around the galactic core. Down on the Council world, Lyran looked up at the sky and gasped. "They're surrounding the galaxy," she whispered. "But why?" Varkol trembled beside her. "They are going to destroy us." "No," Lyran said softly. "They're not attacking." For a brief moment, the galaxy itself shone brighter. And then, a single signal was sent, a pulse of pure data, traveling faster than any known transmission, spreading through every world, every satellite, every ship. The message contained history, unedited, unfiltered raw footage of the first human war, the bombardments, the enslavement camps, the experiments and the screams. Entire species saw the truth their ancestors had hidden. The crimes committed in the name of peace and the lie of civilization. Across the stars, rebellion ignited. Races who once served the Council rose in fury. "You hid this from us!" shouted an ambassador on the trade worlds. "You lied about the humans!" cried another. Rhea watched it all unfold. Her voice quiet, "Let them see what we became because of them," but deep inside her, there was no joy, only the heavy weight of responsibility. "Athena," she said, "calculate the stability of the Radiance network." "Unstable," the AI replied. "The energy resonance between human technology and alien infrastructure is reaching critical levels." "Meaning?" "If it continues unchecked, the entire network could collapse, destroying multiple systems." Rhea closed her eyes. The choice before her burned like fire. Vengeance or restraint, punishment or peace? "Redirect the overload," she commanded. "Back into the void," Athena hesitated. "That will release enough power to tear a hole through the galactic core." "I know," Rhea said. "Do it anyway." The AI obeyed, and the human fleet began to channel all stored energy into a single conduit. Light rippled through space. Brighter than suns, on the Council world, Lyran watched in awe. "They're sacrificing their energy to save us," she whispered. Varkol's eyes widened. "But why?" "They could rule everything now." Lyran smiled faintly. "Because they don't want to rule, they want to heal." From her command bridge, Rhea looked to the stars, her reflection shimmering in the glass. "Humanity was never born to conquer," she said. "We were born to endure." The radiance pulse burst outward, a wave of blinding light that swept across the core, absorbing the chaotic energy and releasing it harmlessly into the void beyond known space. For a heartbeat, all sound ceased. Every ship, every planet, every living being stared into the light and saw something ancient. Within that brilliance, they saw Earth, not as it was destroyed, but as it once was, green, blue, full of life, a memory shared by all. When the light faded, silence reigned once more. The stars returned, and the fleet hovered quietly above the Council world. Their glow dim but alive, Athena's voice broke the stillness. "Network stabilized, Admiral. All systems secured. Rhea exhaled slowly. And the council? They are silent, Athena said, in the grand hall. Varkol fell to his knees, overcome by guilt and wonder. She saved us, he whispered, after everything we did. Lyren approached the main console and sent a message to the Erebus, her hands trembling. To Admiral Rhea Saul, she typed. You have done what no empire could. Unite the galaxy through mercy. A moment later, the reply came, a simple transmission of words across the stars. Mercy is not weakness, Rhea's voice said. It is power perfected. Then she looked to her crew. Prepare diplomatic channels. Send our envoys, the war is over, Marek. Her first officer nodded, his eyes filled with pride. And what shall we call this new era, Admiral? Rhea smiled faintly, her gaze on the endless galaxy ahead. The dawn of unity, she said. The fleet adjusted formation, not as conquerors, but as guardians, protecting what had been reborn. From the ashes of war, a new peace began to form, fragile yet brilliant, like starlight breaking through darkness. And high above all worlds, humanity remained, not as rulers, but as the silent keepers of balance. The wrath of humanity had been unleashed. But it was not destruction that followed. It was redemption. The galaxy was silent again. The light of the radiance pulse had faded, leaving only the stars, bright, calm, and eternal. But everyone who had seen that light could feel it still, in their hearts, in their minds. It had changed something, across thousands of worlds. Alien races gathered around their hollow screens, waiting, hoping, fearing. They knew the humans would speak again, and when they did, their words would decide the fate of everything. On the flagship Erebus, Admiral Rhea Saul stood alone in the central chamber, the great windows stretching above her like the sky itself. The fleet floated quietly around her, their lights forming a constellation that resembled an open hand. Athena, the ship's AI, appeared beside her, glowing softly. All channels are open. Admiral, she said, every species, every world is listening. Rhea nodded slowly, her eyes tired but strong. Then it's time. She stepped forward, her reflection merging with the stars, and spoke. Her voice carried not just through transmitters, but through quantum relays and the same living nanotech that now flowed through half the galaxy. This is Admiral Rhea Saul of the Human Continuum, she began, her tone steady as thunder. We were the forgotten. The hunted, the erased. You buried our history, burned our worlds, and called it peace. But humanity does not vanish. We endure. Her words rippled through the void, echoing across the systems, even those beyond the Council's reach. For centuries, you believed the strong had the right to rule, she continued. You built empires on suffering and called it order. But order without justice is only silence, and silence always ends. In the council hall, Lyren and Varkol stood among the gathered delegates. None dared to interrupt. Their faces reflected the light of the broadcast. Pale and awed, Rhea's eyes softened. We came not to destroy, but to remind you of what was lost, of what was forgotten, of the spark that connects all thinking life. Behind her, the holographic projection of Earth appeared, oceans, forests, clouds, all shimmering in blue light. This was our home, she said. It was taken from us, but even when our planet died, humanity carried its memory in our blood. On distant worlds, children of alien races watched the image, some reaching toward it as though they could touch the ancient Earth through the screen. We have learned pain, Rhea said, and from it we learned compassion. We have known extinction, and from it we learned creation. We have faced darkness, and from it we forged light. The fleet above the council world began to move again, forming a spiral, their lights glowing brighter. The stars themselves seemed to pulse in rhythm with her voice. But make no mistake, Rhea's tone grew colder. Stronger. Mercy is not weakness. We forgive, but we do not forget. If this galaxy ever repeats its sins, humanity will rise again, not as executioners, but as the mirror of truth. Her face hardened, the light in her eyes fierce. For the first time in history, all voices will speak together. No more councils of the few, no more chains for the many. Today, the United Star Accord is born. Built on the ashes of arrogance and the promise of unity, the words struck deep. carried through every empire, every colony, every forgotten station in the dark. In the mining worlds, slaves wept and knelt, whispering, "The humans saved us." On the former war planets, soldiers laid down their weapons, not because they were ordered, but because they no longer had the will to fight. Rhea raised her hand toward the stars, and the fleet responded. Beams of light shot outward in every direction, like threads weaving a tapestry of fire across the heavens, connecting system to system, planet to planet, until the entire galaxy glowed in one massive network of light. "This is the new dawn," Rhea declared. "A dawn not of domination, but of memory. We are bound by what we lost, and united by what we can still build." Athena's voice spoke quietly beside her. Signal strength dropping, but message transmission successful. "Entire galaxy reached," Rhea smiled faintly. "Then our work is done." She turned to the crew of the Erebus. Their faces young and old, human and hybrid, each carrying the mark of soul upon their uniforms. "We are the children of a dead world," she said softly, "and yet, here we stand, alive among the stars. On the Council world," Lyren felt tears on her cheeks, she whispered. "They brought light back to the galaxy." Varkol bowed his head, his pride gone, replaced by humility. "And they did it without firing a single shot." As the broadcast ended, the galaxy remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, one by one, planets began transmitting back, not with words of war, but with messages of peace, pledges of unity. In the void between stars, Rhea watched the first of those responses light up on her screen. Her lips curved into a quiet smile. "They finally understand," she said. Athena turned her holographic gaze to her. "What now, Admiral?" Rhea looked toward the distant glow of nebulae, her voice soft but powerful. "Now we rebuild, not for humanity alone, but for everyone who remembers what it means to be free." And as her words faded into the silence, the human fleet began to move toward the horizon of the galaxy, disappearing into the endless sea of stars, leaving behind not fear but hope. For the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy was truly united, and above it all, the emblem of Sol burned bright, a reminder that the light of humanity could never be extinguished. The galaxy glowed with new light. The war was over, the fleets were silent, and the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before. From the ruins of old empires rose something the universe had never seen. A fragile but powerful peace. The United Star Accord had been born. Worlds once divided by greed and fear now stood side by side. Rebuilding the ashes of the past, humans walked openly once again on alien soil, their presence both humbling and inspiring. On the capital world of the Accord, the former council chamber had been transformed. The banners of oppression replaced by a single emblem, a burning sun surrounded by 12 stars. The mark of Sol Lyren stood among the delegates. Now, as a representative of her world, her eyes lifted toward the vast holographic map above, a map no longer showing territories but shared light. "We have done what they said was impossible," she whispered. "We've united the stars." Beside her, an elderly Varkol nodded slowly. The arrogance that once ruled his heart now replaced by wisdom. "And it was the humans who taught us," he said. "Through pain, through mercy, through strength, far above them." The human flagship Erebus drifted in silent orbit, its hull reflecting the glow of the rebuilt world below. Inside, Admiral Rhea Sol stood before the great viewing window. Her uniform dimly lit by the starlight, Athena's voice filled the chamber softly. "All reconstruction fleets are active, Admiral. New trade routes established." "No conflicts reported for 72 days. Rhea smiled faintly. 72 days of peace. That's longer than the galaxies had in 1,000 years. But even as she spoke, her gaze lingered on the edges of the holographic map, beyond the borders of known space where strange signals had begun to appear. Faint, rhythmic, and old, Athena noticed her focus. "You see it too," she said. "The anomaly in the Perseus void?" "Yes," Rhea replied quietly. "Something is calling." She turned toward her officers. "Prepare a scout division, human and allied." Captain Merrick frowned. "You think it's a threat?" Rhea shook her head. "Not a threat. A message." As the fleet prepared for departure, Lyren arrived on the bridge. her uniform now bearing both the symbol of her people and the emblem of Sol. "Admiral," she said, "the Accord Council requests your presence before you leave." Rhea nodded, following her down to the surface. The chamber of the Accord was filled with representatives from every species, the air shimmering with tension and hope. Lyren stepped forward. "Before you go beyond the stars, we must ask, what happens if humanity finds another council out there?" Rhea looked around the hall, her expression calm but powerful. "Then we will speak to them as we did to you," she said, "with truth first and fire second." Her words sent a chill through the room, but also a strange comfort. The kind that only came from knowing someone strong was watching the skies. When she returned to the Erebus, the fleet was ready. Thousands of ships standing in formation, their lights forming the shape of a great phoenix rising from the ashes, the symbol of rebirth. Athena's voice echoed softly. "All systems green, coordinates locked." "Awaiting your command." Rhea placed her hand on the console, her eyes fixed on the dark expanse ahead. "Engage the slipstream." A ripple spread through space. Like water disturbed by a single drop, the stars bent and stretched, and the fleet vanished into the unknown. Moments later, they emerged on the edge of the Perseus Void, a region untouched by any known civilization. The space there was different, dense, alive, as if something ancient was breathing beneath the stars. Sensors lit up instantly. Athena's voice sharpened. "Unidentified energy detected. Frequency matches no known pattern." Rhea narrowed her eyes. "Visual!" The screen flickered, and before them appeared a colossal structure floating in the dark, vast and silent, a ring of impossible design, built by hands that were neither human nor alien. "Older than any empire," Lyren whispered. "What is that?" Rhea stepped closer, her voice low. "History," she said. "The real kind." The ring began to glow, symbols pulsing along its surface, and a signal came through, soft, distorted but unmistakably human. "Sol continues," the voice said, faint but real. "We are waiting." The crew froze, every heartbeat echoing through the silent bridge. Rhea's hands trembled slightly. "It can't be," she whispered. "That's an ancient Earth frequency, predating the fall." Athena's holographic eyes widened. "Admiral, the signal is coming from beyond the ring." Rhea straightened, her expression hardening into purpose. "Then our journey isn't over," she said. "It's only begun." The fleet moved forward slowly, engines glowing like silver fire, their lights reflecting off the surface of the ancient ring. As they crossed its threshold, the stars themselves seemed to shimmer, time-bending, space-folding, and for a single breath the universe held still. Lyren whispered softly. "From ashes came dawn?" Rhea closed her eyes and replied, "And from dawn comes destiny." The light consumed them, and then they were gone, leaving behind only the fading echo of a voice carried through the stars. Humanity endures, and in that echo, the galaxy knew the story of humanity was not ending, it was only beginning.